This is what you get if you create a project for the first time and you click on the IOC option here. It will open this graphical representation of your microcontroller right there. Now, if you are not too familiar on how to get to this point here, please watch my tutorial on installing and creating a new project with the stm32 Cube IDE. Now, when you are here, click on the clock configuration. Those clock configuration here already got some default settings here that you can basically just load into your program, because this default configuration is based on the board selection that you already select when you are creating a new project. Point to prescaler here, where I basically get it say clock divider is not available. To enable it, one of the following RCC models or IPs have to be configured from the pinout tab. So it basically is telling me if I want to have access to basically controlling this, right? All I have to do is basically to enable one of these functions on the pin configuration tab, like what I said earlier. So if I go ahead like this timer 1 source multiplexer here, so if I go back into my pin out configurations and find the timers, right? So I choose like timer 1 and enable this timer. And once we enable it, automatically we're going to see that we'll be able to switch and change to whatever frequency we want here on the timer configuration. So let's go ahead and choose a clock source, right? So let's just go easy and say internal clock source. Right, so when I select internal clock source, there are some other options that must be selected here. Now, this is basically if you want a PWM frequency and all other things to the clock configuration. And you can see as soon as we enable that timer, we now have this option here available where we can basically change and put whatever value we want to put there for our clock. And once you input it, it will have to also look for a solution for you so that this configuration can be able to load in and work accordingly in your system. So that it can actually matches what you just tapped there. As you can see, it's basically write everything back. Right, let's look at the one last multiplexer before we can close up this tutorial. And also, guys, if you find this tutorial useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to CMTEQ channel. That will be highly appreciated. So let's look at the PLL source max, right? Also known as the phase locked loop. Now, this phase locked loop is basically a configuration that allows you to select the input source to this PLL circuit here, as you can see. And the PLL circuit is also feeding in a clock source, right, to the system clock multiplexer. And it's also feeding to this timer source multiplexer. So basically that's what this PLL source max is basically doing there. So this PLL circuit is really a very critical component that's responsible for generating a high frequency clock from a low frequency source. So make sure what you are doing when you're working on that section there. Right, so basically that is it, guys, for this system clock configurations. And please remember, you must never exceed these 72 megahertz. For my particular board, yours might be different. Regardless of what you are doing there, it must never go above that, otherwise your code is not going to work. So that is it, guys, for this tutorial. Thanks for watching once again, and don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next tutorial where we're going to discuss about the stm32 external interrupt. So basically the ability to interrupt your processes from an external event. So until next time, cheers.